What is up, guys? Welcome to the Plus 10 Health Podcast, a personal development podcast with a heavy emphasis on health and fitness, here to help you level up your life. My name is Roy Yamada, and I will be your host. So without further ado, let's hop right into the show. So this show is going to be the top 5 lessons that I've learned so far in my life and that I have lived by. And that, these are the lessons that have served me so far. So I hope that they can be of value to you as well. And I am 29 years old. And if you are younger than that, I hope that you can learn from my mistakes and learn from the things that I've experienced so that it can save you time, heartache, and effort. So the first lesson is you must take action. You have to get started. That is the number one most important thing to achieve anything in this life. And so many people get stuck in this thought process of, oh, everything has to be perfect. I need to plan out every single detail. I need to know exactly what will happen and how will I overcome that. And the truth is, you will not be prepared for what's to come. Let's be honest. And I'm going to give you a story about my entrepreneurship journey and how I started to kind of serve as an example of that. So when lockdowns happened, they had let us go from the gym. And from there, I didn't want to just sit around and do nothing. And that is when I took everything, all of my business online, and I started online coaching. Now, in the beginning, I did exactly what I knew how to do with the resources that I had. Right. So the first iteration of my online business was I would just take my clients, I would get on a Zoom call, and I would do a session with them online. And, I did that for a few months, but over time, clients fell off. They didn't feel like it was worth it. So I had to change up the business model. I had to do things differently. And that's actually where I invested in my first business coach with, by the way, at that time, the investment that I made, it was like the most terrifying thing I've ever done. That was the first investment I've made into myself. And he really changed my mindset that day. Shout out to Jay. Thank you so much for everything you've done for me. But he said, if you are not willing to invest into your own self, how can you expect your clients to do the same? And I mean, that line right there totally changed my perspective. And although I was still absolutely terrified of spending what I did on it, I pulled the trigger because I knew at the end of the day, you know what, this is what I need to do if I want to be successful, because I didn't have no one around me to lead me down the path or to help me out with this. So instead of doing those training sessions over Zoom, what it was I started to work on a course. Right? If you guys are familiar with like digital marketing and this whole online space, courses are very, very big. The problem or the struggle that I had was figuring out how can I distill my information or my knowledge of nutrition, training, and health into a course, because even then I understood that this is very individual and I was trying to create something that could be delivered to the masses. Right. So long story short, I worked on that for a few months, planned everything out, scripted, filmed, edited all the modules, uploaded it. And I took my first cohort of people through that. And they all received, or they all got results. But at the end of it, I was really struggling to find new customers for this new business model. Right. So at that point, again, I had to change things because they were not working. So I dove into a different approach with online coaching, and I steered into the more individual coaching, which is more so what I'm doing today, because again, I understood that, hey, this is very individual and everyone needs different things. So that is the route that I took, right? And also along the way, I started doing, outdoors training. And that's actually a funny story because one of the clients that I was training online actually led me or kept on inviting me to a small group, right? Which led me to grow in my faith. And all of these trickle effects happened, but the biggest thing that I want you to take away from all of this is you just need to start. You will never prepare yourself for everything happening, because life happens. Things are going to pop up. You're going to need to adjust and change your approach. And the best way to learn is through experience. That should actually be one of these lessons as well, but I'll just tack that on into this one, is that you learn the best from going through things, right? Like my sales skills, there's only so many like sales books that I can read. I've learned so much in business by just doing, right? So you have to take that first step. You have to have that faith to just get started. And even if you don't have a plan when it comes to weight loss specifically, say, you're really unsure about what to do. There's just too much information out there. There's too much conflicting information. We all know at the end of the day, like, hey, we just need to get a little bit more active. And we also, deep down, if we're being honest, we also understand like, hey, maybe I shouldn't eat so many chips, or maybe the french fries and the burgers isn't the best option for me. Like we all have a general understanding of that. And what I want you to take away from this, related to weight loss or health specifically, is just go for some walks. If you are totally unsure, like you truthfully don't know, you don't want to get into strength training just yet, you're unsure of what to do, just go for walks. Go for a 30-40 minute walk. It's super simple. We all understand how to walk. Just keep it simple, right? But you have to get started. And then over time, you invest into yourself, you learn more, you do research, or you hire a coach. Hiring a coach and getting help is the fastest way to achieve your goals. By hiring someone to help you, you essentially take their years of failures and attempts, and you can achieve the results that they have in a much shorter time frame. Right? So don't be afraid to ask for help. So lesson number 2 is you only fail if you quit. This has been a lesson that I've really ingrained into myself, especially this past year in business. There were so many times where I second guessed myself, when I was stressed out, when I had anxiety of like, hey, can I actually do this? Am I good enough? And you just get into this negative spiral. But what I want you to understand is, as long as you just get started, which it kind of ties into the first thing that we talked about earlier in this podcast, as long as you get started, you can only get better. If you have an open mind to trying new things, if you make it a priority to learn and to improve, you will only get better with time. So again, times will be hard. Life will happen. People will get sick. House problems will come up. Work will get stressful. But just keep going. You can do it. And the thing about all of this is that, again, like I mentioned earlier, you have to be open-minded, because you'll probably need to make adjustments as you go. Like I mentioned in my story, there were multiple times where I had to pivot my business because I understood like, hey, this isn't catching traction. This is probably not what I should be doing. And I switched. And I can say very confidently that the path that I'm at right now, and I can say very confidently that the path that I'm on right now, I needed to go through all of those experiences to get me to where I'm at today. So I'm very thankful for going through all of that. As you should be thinking about your own journey, and as you go through these hardships and you go through adversity, just understand that it is only preparing you for the life, for the health, for the fitness that you want in the future. Right? So that's number 2. Lesson number 3, there will be ups and downs. Be prepared for that. If you can expect something, you can prepare for it, right? You can be flexible, and you can understand that, hey, you may need to course correct or go down a different path, kind of like what we were talking about before. right? And I'll give you an example. So I had a client and we had a conversation last week or so, and we were talking about how she's able to push through the burn when she's strength training. And it was so funny because the first time that we worked out, she started to feel the burn. She dropped the weights really quick and she was like, oh my God, I think I injured myself. And asked her how it felt, like what was going on, was it a sharp pain, all of that. And the conclusion that we came down to was she was just experiencing the lactic acid buildup, right? That burn in the muscle as you do reps. And it's funny because she didn't know what that was, so she got scared. But fast forward a few months, she understands what that is. She's prepared for it to happen. So that means that she's able to push through it. So much so that she is pushing her intensity with the workouts a lot harder than she was in the past. And it only continues to improve as we go. Her ability to push through this pain, to push through this discomfort, only gets better and better and better with time. Right? So again, if you're prepared for things to go up and down, you can mentally prepare for these things. And when they do happen, because they will happen, it won't be such a shock and you'll be more ready for it, right? Lesson number 4 is there is no balance in the beginning. If you want to achieve great things, if you want to have this, very outlandish, like over the top goal, and you have a specific life that you want to live, you're going to have to be unbalanced in the beginning. And work-life balance is something that's thrown out there. And what I've learned is that if you truly want to be great at something, you have to be almost obsessed over it. You have to live and breathe it. And that means that things will be sacrificed, especially in the beginning, right? I'm at a point of my life where I don't really have too many friends. And the friends that I did have, we kind of outgrew each other. We had different goals. We were going down different paths. And for me to do what I do and to work on producing the life that I want to live, that means that I needed to make sacrifices. And that means, I couldn't go out all the time. I couldn't drink as much as I did, all of these different things, right? And in the beginning, this is something to think about too. It won't always be like that. What I mean by that is in the beginning, it may seem very, very hard and difficult, and you may feel like you need to exert yourself so much to do these things. But the beautiful part about that is as you get more competent, as you get more confident in these skills that you need to do, the easier it becomes. And then you can start to work on trying to balance all of these things out, right? So again, be okay with that and expect it, because a great life will need sacrifice, right? And lesson number 5 is put people first. We are human beings and we love to connect. We love to talk to each other. This one is fairly simple, right? And it's pretty straightforward, is just be kind, care about people, and always lead with that. I think that just this alone, if people were to implement this into their daily life, a lot of our problems would be fixed. And the thing about that is, when we lead with caring about people first, we have to be the ones to lead, right? Or we have to be the ones to do it first. So Vince Lombardi, who is a very well-known coach, he has a very good quote that I love, and it's that leading by example or leading from the front isn't the best way to lead. It's the only way to lead, right? So if you want to be that change, you have to start first. And then the more that you do it, the more that people see you're that light, you're that kindness, you produce positivity, the more likely they are to do the same. It's like a trickle effect, right? Say you do something nice for someone and you totally make their day. They're like smiling cheek to cheek. maybe that trickles down and they do the same thing for someone else. And then that person does it for someone else, and then someone else and someone else. And before you know it, you have this like tree of positivity all stemming from you. But if you want to be that change, you have to go first and you have to lead by example, right? And I think that if you can truthfully think about putting people first and being kind, you can get whatever you want in this life, even for entrepreneurship. Because at the end of the day, when we're talking about business, what is business? It's really just an exchange of goods or resources, right? If you can help someone do the things that they want to do, they will then pay you with whatever resource that they have. It's typically money is what we're talking about, right? So if you can help people achieve their goals, they will help you achieve your goals as well. And what a beautiful cycle to be in, right? So that was today's podcast, guys. Fairly short, but very impactful. I feel like, at 29 years old, I just had my 29th birthday last week, Sunday. And I will say I have learned a lot this past year. And these are kind of the lessons that have been top of mind throughout this past year. And I know that over time, I will learn more. I will continue to improve. I will continue to have new perspectives and change the way that I think. But I loved this podcast episode because it's kind of like a bookmark into my thinking and what's on my mind. And again, guys, if you need any help, if you have any questions, reach out to me. You can reach out to me on Instagram. I will leave that linked, or you could just search up roy.yamada. You can shoot me an email as well. That will all be linked down in the description. But that's it, guys. If you like this episode, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And that's it. I hope you guys have a good day, and I hope that this podcast helped you level up your life.